February 2005. In the middle of the night, in a small living room in San Mateo, California, three young men are sitting in front of a laptop. The site they've just launched doesn't look like much. A blank page, a few lines of code, a somewhat clumsy interface. Chad Early, Steve Chen, and Jawed Karim, three ex-PayPal employees who departed after eBay acquired the company. They didn't want to stay in a big corporation. They wanted to create something their own way. And that something was YouTube. Their concept was a video dating site where users had to film themselves for introductions. A Tinder precursor. But there's a big problem. No one is cooperating. So, to get things started, Jawed posts a test video in front of some elephants. It lasts 13 seconds. The video is still available on YouTube, and its creator uses it for communication, which we'll discuss later. As for the title, it's far from being optimized with well-placed hashtags. You could say he didn't overthink it. Me Abdasu, and without knowing it, he just created the first YouTube video in history. Despite not being a dating video, the captured moment of life surprisingly works. People rapidly post various content like show clips, tutorials, and funny videos, leading YouTube to pivot. This shaky site becomes a space for free expression, a playground for imagination, passions, and revolutions. That day, they don't know it yet, but they've just opened Pandora's box, a platform that will transform the internet, and even more, our way of thinking, learning, and believing. It will redefine human attention. YouTube, now 20 years old, has evolved beyond a website into a global television search engine and influential tool. And above all, Google's secret weapon, to control what we see, what we believe, and sometimes even what we become. But then, how did this half-failed website conquer the entire planet? How did Google turn it into an empire of influence? Most importantly, how far can this go? Hello, Team Mindset. I hope you're well. On the video dedicated to Google's Dead Apps, many of you supported the idea of a video about one of the group's key pieces, YouTube. Today, we're going to analyze its history together, from its acquisition to its undisputed dominance, but also its dark sides, controversies, and future challenges. As usual, we'll finish with the lessons that this story teaches us and from which entrepreneurs can draw inspiration. Feel free to suggest any other videos related to tech, food service, fashion, or other topics. It's always a pleasure to read your ideas. I've taken note of your many comments about Buffalo Grill, so that'll be the next topic I cover. But coming back to YouTube, what do you think about it? Will the company be able to adapt to the habits of the new generation? Faced with TikTok, especially Twitch, or even the massive arrival of artificial intelligence, will artificial intelligence push the platform even further? Or on the contrary, will it be the beginning of its downfall? That's a lot of questions, and we're going to answer them now. Let's go. Late summer 2006, France lost the World Cup final in Germany to Italy. Sorry to bring up that painful memory. But on the other side of the Atlantic, Google, which isn't yet the giant we know today but is growing fast, gets out its checkbook. And bam, $1,650 million to buy a site that doesn't make a single cent. A site created by 3 ex-PayPal employees seemed crazy at the time. YouTube lacks a business model and faces copyright issues from all directions, while being expensive to maintain. Bandwidth is rapidly expanding every minute, causing hesitation among some at Google offices. But Sergey Brin, Google co-founder, says, "We don't look at costs, we look at what it attracts. And what it attracts is attention. Every day, YouTube already draws more than 100 million views. But more importantly, every click leaves a trace, an emotion, an interest, a micro-behavioral data point. And that's where the real value lies, not in the videos, but in what they reveal about us." Former Google employees later claimed it was about predicting large-scale human behavior, not just videos. Remember, at that instant, no one perceives the true situation. And yet it's going to have an impact that even the company hadn't anticipated. Google didn't just want to broadcast, it wanted to understand. The company dominates search, but it lacks visuals, video, and emotion. YouTube arrives at the perfect moment. Free content created by the users themselves. Instant reactions and a natural virality, impossible to code, but incredibly effective. What Google is buying isn't a platform, it's a lever, an accelerator, a magnet for influence and dependence. And in the years that follow, YouTube will become the best strategic decision in Google's history. YouTube is often associated with entertainment, humor, music, and tutorials, but that's merely the surface. In reality, YouTube is the most powerful microscope ever created for studying human behavior. Every click, every pause, every time you stop watching, every video you let play in the background, everything is captured, everything is measured. And it's not just to suggest content to you, it's to build a dynamic profile. Your identity, likes, fears, and obsessions. The more you watch, the more the algorithm learns, and the more it shows you what you want to see or what you just can't help but watch. And that's where a much more powerful mechanism comes in. A business model that doesn't sell a product, but your ability to stay captive. We'll see in a moment how YouTube managed to integrate that into the whole Google ecosystem. Before proceeding, understand this. You are YouTube's most profitable product. YouTube doesn't create anything itself. It's people who post, millions of users, free videos, hours and hours of content, swallowed up every minute by a machine that never sleeps. Every minute, 500 hours of videos are uploaded, like trying to fit an Olympic-sized pool into a coffee cup. And the algorithm knew exactly where to place every drop. It's not just artificial intelligence, it's psychology on a massive scale. And when you understand what YouTube is watching, you start to understand how Google influences. YouTube isn't an isolated site, it's the powerhouse that fuels the entire Google ecosystem. Every video you watch triggers data flows, connecting your beliefs, searches, and what you write. When you click on a travel video, Google records your interest in a country. Then it shows you an insurance ad. Then a promotion on tickets and a map on Google Maps. Google's endless tracking of our online activities is not a coincidence, but a perpetual cycle that never stops. YouTube encourages searching, Google search promotes clicking, Gmail urges replying, and Chrome encourages staying. An interesting fact is that even though some of you told me that you're boycotting the browser in the video dedicated to Internet Explorer, in April 2025, Google Chrome still holds 66.19% of the global market share, which confirms its dominant position, according to StatCounter data. And it's even more pronounced on mobile devices, where Chrome approaches 70% of the market share. Pre-installed on many Android phones, everything is connected. And precisely, speaking of Android, the YouTube app is also installed by default on billions of phones. On Google Television, it's the entry point. Gmail provides recommendations via email, while Google search results prioritize YouTube videos over websites. And what we discover in some technical investigation is that YouTube doesn't just serve to retain users. It also serves to train Google's artificial intelligence at home on billions of hours of visual and audio data. We'll come back to this later because it raises another issue, that of processing power and the advantage it gives. YouTube is the central component that unifies the entire Google ecosystem. It drives Google Ads, retains Android users, supports Google Cloud, and provides purpose to the whole system. And above all, it locks it in. Because once you have your emails, your search engine, your smartphone, and your video content all on the same account, you never leave. I was recently telling you about Apple's golden cage, but I'm starting to wonder if, in the end, Google's, which is more discreet, isn't even harder to leave. What do you think? Today it's an empire, but it was built on experiments and quite a few failures. The most well-known is YouTube Raid, an attempt to copy Netflix, with original series from star creators and a premium subscription. But it flopped. Why pay for something we've always had for free? Even the future Netflix hit Cobra Kai couldn't make the service successful. As a result, YouTube buries Red, renames the service to Premium, and gives up on competing for series. What is less known is that behind the scenes, this mistake changed something deeper. YouTube stopped trying to become a television channel and instead became a nervous system. We'll talk about Netflix in a moment, but keep that in mind. Failing let them adjust course. It wasn't the only crash. In 2007, a brand safety crisis erupted when ads from major brands appeared alongside extremist or shocking videos. As a result, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, McDonald's, AT&T, L'Oreal all cut their spending, and YouTube lost millions. Above all, McDonald's reputation wavers, but the company takes the hit and adapts once again. They will review monetization rules, enhance moderation, and modify partnership criteria, followed by the Logan Paul incident. For those who can't stand influencers, he's a famous YouTuber who became a professional boxer. And to be honest, he's actually quite successful. Before his rise to fame, he filmed a controversial suicide video in a Japanese forest, sparking global outrage. At first, YouTube doesn't react, then they impose a penalty and finally make a drastic decision. No one, not even the stars, is untouchable anymore. Even PewDiePie, the world's #1, is targeted after controversial remarks. Contract terminated, project canceled. That's when another controversy emerges. By constantly banning, demonetizing, and restricting, YouTube is accused of silencing certain opinions. Creators are criticizing inconsistent moderation, with some calling it disguised censorship and others claiming a double standard. And YouTube is going to walk a very fine line between keeping its platform safe and not becoming a silent judge of public debate. YouTube is becoming more resilient, stricter, and structured with each scandal, transforming from a community into more of a platform, albeit through difficult lessons. And above all, its algorithm keeps learning from us and keeps developing. "20 years ago, YouTube was just a website. Today, it's the most watched channel in history. But without an antenna, without an 8 p.m. news broadcast, without a star host, and most importantly, without television. Every month, more than 2.5 billion people connect to it. In the United States, YouTube has surpassed Netflix, Disney, and traditional television to become the top platform on connected television S. This trend extends beyond America. YouTube is also becoming the new video standard in France. More than 42 million French people over the age of 15 use YouTube every month, and among them, 20 million watch it directly on their television. The time spent on YouTube keeps increasing, 41 minutes per day on average. On living room screens, there was a remarkable 19% increase in just 1 year. Traditional television is nearly non-existent for those under 25 who no longer channel surf. They browse, select, and frequently remain. Tutorials, music videos, documentaries, podcasts, interviews, movies. YouTube has absorbed all the formats and broadcasts them in the order you like. On YouTube, the algorithm adapts to you, not the other way around. That's the platform's power. It offers exactly what you didn't know you wanted, but can't ignore. And at the same time, it allows anyone, a teenager in his room, an unemployed teacher, an anonymous entrepreneur, to reach millions of people. That's also the power of YouTube. I'm sure it's happened to you before. You're browsing the homepage and you come across a brand new video on a topic you weren't even looking for. After watching the entire video, you may crave more content and decide to subscribe. YouTube didn't replace television. It stripped, recycled, and reinvented it in its own way. But in the shadow of this success, another battle has already begun. This time it's occurring on our phones, in our scrolling, and possibly soon in our minds. YouTube crushed its rivals one after another. Dailymotion, its French competitor, crashed and burned. I was talking to you about it recently in a video. Vine, an early competitor, quickly failed by refusing to pay its creators. Metacafe, Veo, Bleep Television, and even Instagram Television, which tried long formats like YouTube, all disappeared. Platforms that had a community, a vision, but couldn't stand up to the Google war machine. Even Facebook, with its billions of users, failed to compete. Facebook Watch is now forgotten, while YouTube keeps growing. But there is still a serious, silent rival, calculating. Netflix isn't random content. It's carefully crafted storytelling, designed to keep you watching until the very last second. Netflix remains the sole service able to take screen time from YouTube in the living room. YouTube's advantage over Netflix is unlimited content creation. Billions of videos produced every year, short formats, long ones, interactive, live, and above all, free. So Netflix resists, but YouTube dominates. Today, a new threat has emerged, and it comes from a format we didn't take seriously: scrolling. TikTok is reshaping attention with short, intense, addictive videos. An algorithm that requires no input from you, knows you better than you know yourself. YouTube understands this well. That's why Shorts exists. A clone, it's true, but also a line of defense. And tomorrow, the enemy might not be another platform, but artificial intelligence. AIs that create videos in seconds, voice clones, generated faces, automatic scripts, entire animated channels. Without humans, YouTube could become the kingdom of hyperproduction, or, on the contrary, sink into an overdose of soulless content. Twitch dominates live streaming, while X, formerly Twitter, is increasingly integrating longer videos. Rumble attracts creators censored elsewhere, and decentralized platforms are on the rise, though still discreet. However, the threat may also originate from governments, judges, and laws. Because right now, the American Department of Justice is preparing a historic offensive. According to the Wall Street Journal, Washington is considering forcing Google to sell its Chrome browser and maybe even YouTube. The goal is to break the monopoly, to cut the links between search, advertising, and video. YouTube isn't dead yet, but for the first time in 2 decades, its future doesn't solely depend on itself. The story of YouTube isn't just about a platform, it's a masterclass in entrepreneurship. And if we have to remember 3 lessons, here are the ones I want to share. A project can be born from a bad idea as long as you're able to pivot quickly. YouTube. At first, it was a video dating site, a shaky concept that nobody wanted. But the founders didn't insist. They listened to what users were actually doing, and they changed direction. The lesson: don't fall in love with your idea. Fall in love with the problem you want to solve. Above all, pay attention to what the market shows you. YouTube works because it doesn't have to produce the content. He set up a machine, a system where users create, viewers watch, and Google collects the attention and the data. What you build has to be able to sustain itself. That's what a real business is, not something where you work more to earn more like Sarkozy thought, but a model where the more it runs, the bigger it gets. YouTube was bought for $1.6 billion, even though it was losing money. Google understood that it was buying available brain hours, the most valuable currency in today's digital world, rather than just videos. Ask yourself if what you're building attracts attention, does it hold it, and above all, accept making mistakes and failing. Just like Google, which despite its immense power, today has a cemetery of apps fuller than most app stores, as you can see in the video that's showing.